Hello, everyone. Welcome to Inside the Americas. Here's a look at what's coming up in today's show. Argentine activists launch a renewed effort to legalize elective abortions after narrowly falling short last year. One of the biggest drug manufacturers in the world goes on trial in Oklahoma. Johnson & Johnson accused of fueling the opioid epidemic in the U.S. And in Las Vegas, gambling is giving way to a healthier pastime, sports. More on the massive new stadium being built there, coming up. I'm Jeannie Godula. First up, our picture of the week. These women in Argentina are some of the country's many abortion rights activists. They turned out in front of the National Congress in Buenos Aires this week. That's where Argentine lawmakers relaunched a bid to legalize abortion after narrowly falling short last year. Under Argentina's current law, abortions are only allowed in cases of rape or if the pregnancy presents a health risk to the mother.
For the second time this year, the streets of Buenos Aires were flooded with green bandanas as thousands of protesters came out in support of a pro-abortion bill. Proponents of the law argue it could help end the estimated 350,000 unregulated abortions performed in Argentina each year, and which have become one of the leading causes of maternal death in the South American country.
The only thing I'm hoping for is that lawmakers vote well and with their conscience this time. That they think of the lives of the girls that have died from secret abortions in subhuman conditions.
The scenes were reminiscent of last year's rallies, where masses of green-clad Argentinians took to the streets to support a similar bill. The law had been approved by Parliament in June, but was narrowly rejected by the Senate 2 months later. Now, pro-choice advocates are hoping to make abortion a central issue of the upcoming presidential campaign.
During a political campaign, candidates generally try to stay away from divisive issues. But when an issue like this one garners so much attention, it's inevitable that it will be part of the debate.
The proposed law seeks to legalize all abortions into the 14th week of pregnancy, to add safeguards for women seeking abortions, and to provide greater education and counseling on the issue. Yet with presidential elections looming, lawmakers are likely to wait until the country has chosen its next government to vote on the bill.
The Women's World Cup gets underway here in France next week, a chance for us to take a closer look at women's football teams from the Americas, their stories, their struggles, and how they made it to the world's top tournament. Argentina's national team has particularly struggled the past few years with strikes and little resources. But recent breakthroughs in the sport at home have some women players hopeful about their future careers. Claire Rush reports.
It's an underdog story. Against all odds, Argentina's women's team has qualified for the 2019 Women's World Cup, its first in 12 years. The team had little to no resources for decades, until players went on strike in 2017 over unpaid stipends and a lack of basic equipment, including a training pitch and locker rooms. Now they've made it to the world's top tournament for the third time in history.
We know this is our reward for all the effort we put in to qualify. That's how we see it. We obviously want to win, but it will be very difficult.
This year, Argentina's group stage is one of the toughest. They'll face Japan, champions in 2011, as well as England, semi-finalists in 2015. But they're hoping to redeem themselves after their last World Cup appearance in 2007. They lost all 3 games, including an 11-0 loss against Germany.
There is a thirst, not for revenge, but for a better ranking than last time, despite our difference in skill level compared to other countries. This national team was only re-established 2 years ago, and there is still much to be done.
Much to be done in terms of training, but also in terms of gender equality. Due to vast pay discrepancies, most women players need to work multiple jobs to survive.
When you work or study at the same time, you can't perform at 100% on the pitch. People can see when the women's national team plays badly, but nobody sees why. We can't live like this.
Women players in the country's first division, which will become professional starting in June, will barely earn €300 per month. A male player in the fourth division earns 8 times that amount, while stars in the top male league earn millions of euros per year. A gender pay gap that must be addressed to ensure the future growth and success of women's football in Argentina.
Our number of the week is a big one, 130,060. That is the massive percentage increase of inflation in Venezuela in 2018. That figure from Venezuela's central bank is still 10 times smaller than estimates from the International Monetary Fund. The IMF even projects a 10 million% inflation for the oil-rich country this year. Venezuela's economic crisis has pushed more than 3 million Venezuelans to emigrate since 2015. And a leader with the group that's been raising funds to build a southern border wall between the U.S. and Mexico says they built almost a mile on private land in New Mexico over the recent Memorial Day weekend. The group has raised about $22 million so far, but it's now in a dispute with the city. It says Sunland Park gave it permission to build, but the city says the group began construction without giving any notice, setting the table for what could be a legal battle for the wall going forward. Now, also in the U.S., the first civil trial that could hold a drug company responsible for the U.S. opioid epidemic is underway. It's a landmark case that could impact thousands of others like it. The state of Oklahoma is accusing drug maker Johnson & Johnson of deceptively marketing opioid painkillers, hiding their effectiveness, and downplaying the risks of addiction. Peter O'Brien reports.
Austin was 22. A student and standout sportsman at the University of Oklahoma when he died of a painkiller overdose.
When he got that taste of opioids, he said to himself, "Wow, I found my answer."
Now his parents are expected to be called as witnesses. Johnson & Johnson has been taken to trial in Oklahoma in a case which could help determine pharmaceutical companies' role in America's opioid crisis. The state government claims the drug manufacturers' marketing of addictive painkillers will cost them up to $18 billion.
They ignored centuries of experience, well-documented scientific histories of deadly addiction epidemics, and embarked on a cynical, deceitful, multi-million-dollar brainwashing campaign.
On average, more than 130 people in the US die each day from an opioid overdose, and over 11 million misused prescription opioids in 2016. The epidemic is estimated to cost the government more than $78 billion a year. Johnson & Johnson says it's not responsible, claiming prescriptions are doctors' decisions and have nothing to do with sales. In court, their lawyer said statements made by the company were no different to those made by the government in 2009.
During the same year, the Food and Drug Administration of the federal government said it rarely causes addiction.
In a separate case earlier this year, Purdue Pharma reached a $270 million settlement with Oklahoma over the allegedly deceptive tactics it used to sell its painkiller, OxyContin.
Las Vegas may be known as a gambler's paradise, but the city itself is now undergoing a bit of a makeover. Sin City's coffers aren't filling up as much as they used to, and that's pushed local authorities to hedge their bets on sports. They're constructing a massive stadium and are now sponsoring football, baseball, and ice hockey teams. Delano D'Souza has the story.
It's a city known for its success and opulence. For decades, the neon lights in Vegas drew in gamblers from around the world. But now, the tills in the city of Sin aren't ringing as much as they used to. On-demand weddings, too, have witnessed a slide. The city built in the desert now hopes ice will help turn around its fortunes. 2 years ago, the Vegas Golden Knights ice hockey team was created, attracting the best talent from around the country.
Oh, the whole town came alive when the team came.
I mean, we're the entertainment capital of the world, so as far as that goes, it's just adding one more thing to our bill to prove that we're kind of the most happening city around.
An ice hockey match in Vegas is no ordinary affair. Team captains make spectacular entrances and audiences are treated to a show. The city is also hedging its bets on American football by announcing the relocation of the Raiders from Oakland, California. A stadium expected to seat 70,000 is expected to open once the multi-million-dollar transfer is complete in 2020. Authorities say shifting to sports was a natural decision when you consider Vegas has the most number of hotel rooms in the world.
Gives us an opportunity to program events when we have occupancy. So we can look for an event in the first weekend of December when maybe the destination's a little slow, bring a major event here and fill all those rooms.
Vegas is also looking to the future beyond traditional sports. Under the pyramid of this hotel, fans gather to watch video game players compete with the best.
They'll come in, they'll watch the best players play against each other up on the main stage, and they'll spend hundreds of dollars getting out here, getting a hotel, spending 2 to 3 hours in a line just to have an autograph from those players and that team.
Vegas once drew in 60% of its revenue from casinos, but that number has dwindled to almost 40%. Concerts, hospitality, and sports now account for a bulk of the city's cash.
And staying with the sports theme now, we'll leave you in Chicago, where the ceremonial first pitch at a White Sox game went a bit off target, to say the least. The woman who got the honor was awarded for being a White Sox Employee of the Month. But the rookie right-hander uncorked one of the most wayward first pitches ever when she hit a team photographer who was standing at about a 45-degree angle from where the ball was supposed to go. The photographer and his camera were both fine. As for the Sox employee, well, let's just say she can always keep her day job. We'll leave you with that. Thanks so much for watching this Inside the Americas. See you again next time for all the news from north to south.
Fake news. Noun. False stories that appear to be news, spread on the internet or using other media. At France 24, our job is to provide you with information that's been verified. We check sources, we check facts, we sort what is true from what is fake.
At the France 24 Observers, we verify photos and videos circulating online. If they're fake, we let you know and tell you how we spotted them.
In Fact or Fake, we dig into viral stories around Europe to shake out the truth from the trash.
Every day on Info Migrants' website, we fight fake news spread on social networks about the reality of migration.
France 24, news based on facts.
Liberté, égalité, actualité.